Welcome to the world of U.S. Roosevelt Dimes, where each coin carries history, design, and national pride. Featuring Liberty, In God We Trust, and E Pluribus Unum. These dimes reflect America's important transition from silver to modern coinage. Let's explore their details, meaning, and value in a simple and interesting way. The 1966 Roosevelt dime is an important coin in modern United States coinage history. This 10-cent coin was issued during a period when the United States Mint was making major changes to its coinage system because of rising silver prices and a nationwide coin shortage. The obverse of the coin features a portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, designed by chief engraver John R. Sinek. Roosevelt's image had appeared on the dime since 1946 as a tribute to his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, as well as his support of the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis, commonly known as a March of Dimes. The inscriptions on the front include Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1966. These words symbolize the values and traditions of the United States and have been featured on American coinage for generations. The reverse of the 1966 Roosevelt dime displays a torch in the center, representing liberty and freedom. On each side of the torch are an olive branch and an oak branch. The olive branch symbolizes peace, while the oak branch stands for strength and independence. Around the design appears the inscription United States of America and the denomination 1 dime. The motto E Pluribus Unum, meaning out of many, one, is also featured on the reverse, emphasizing the unity of the American states. The reverse design was also created by John R. Sinek and has become one of the most recognizable designs in American numismatic history. One of the most significant aspects of the 1966 Roosevelt dime is that it was produced after the Coinage Act of 1965. Prior to 1965, Roosevelt dimes were made from 90% silver and 10% copper. However, because silver prices increased and many people began hoarding silver coins, the United States government decided to remove silver from circulating dimes and quarters. As a result, the 1966 dime was struck using a copper-nickel-clad composition. The coin consists of an inner core of pure copper surrounded by outer layers of copper and nickel. This change allowed the mint to continue producing sufficient quantities of coins for circulation while reducing production costs. The 1966 Roosevelt dime has a diameter of 17.9 millimeters and weighs approximately 2.27 grams. The edge of the coin is reeded, meaning it contains a series of small grooves around its circumference. These reeds were originally introduced on precious metal coins to prevent people from shaving small amounts of metal from the edges. Although the 1966 dime no longer contained silver, the reeded edge remained as part of the traditional design. The coin's compact size and durable clad composition helped it remain practical for everyday commerce throughout the United States. An interesting feature of the 1966 Roosevelt dime is the absence of a mint mark. During the coin shortage of the mid-1960s, the United States Mint temporarily removed mint marks from circulating coins dated 1965, 1966, and 1967. Officials believed that collectors were saving coins based on mint marks, which reduced the number of coins available for circulation. Therefore, even though 1966 dimes were struck at different mint facilities, no mint mark appears on the coin. This makes it impossible to determine the exact mint location simply by examining the coin itself. The production numbers for the 1966 Roosevelt dime were extremely high. Hundreds of millions of dimes were struck to meet the nation's demand for small change. Because of these large mintages, most circulated examples remain common today and are usually worth only face value or a small premium. However, coins preserved in uncirculated condition can be more desirable to collectors. Examples with strong details, original mint luster, and minimal contact marks often command higher prices in the numismatic market. Collectors pay close attention to the quality of a 1966 dime when determining its value. Coins graded mint state by professional grading services are generally worth more than circulated examples. High-grade specimens displaying sharp strikes and attractive surfaces are particularly sought after. Because millions of these coins entered circulation, finding one in average condition is easy, but locating a gem-quality example can be much more challenging. As a result, top-grade pieces certified by grading companies can sell for significantly higher prices than ordinary circulated coins. Another area of interest involves mint errors and varieties. Although standard 1966 Roosevelt dimes are common, error coins can attract considerable attention from collectors. Off-center strikes, double strikes, clip planches, broad strikes, and other unusual minting mistakes may carry premiums depending on their rarity and visual appeal. Collectors often examine old coin collections and circulation finds in hopes of discovering one of these valuable errors. Certified error coins from 1966 can sometimes be worth many times more than a normal example. The historical context surrounding the 1966 Roosevelt dime makes it especially fascinating. The mid-1960s represented a transitional period in American coinage. The move from silver to clad coinage marked a major shift in the nation's monetary system. The 1966 dime serves as a reminder of that transformation and reflects the economic conditions that influenced government decisions at the time. For many collectors, owning a 1966 Roosevelt dime means owning a piece of American history connected to the end of circulating silver dimes. Today, the 1966 Roosevelt dime remains a popular coin among beginning and experienced collectors alike. It is affordable, widely available, and historically significant. Whether found in pocket change, inherited collections, or purchased from coin dealers, the coin offers an opportunity to learn about United States minting history, the transition away from silver coinage, and the enduring legacy of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. While most examples are not rare, exceptional high-grade specimens and unusual mint errors continue to attract interest and can be valuable additions to a numismatic collection. The 1973 D. Roosevelt dime is a fascinating piece of United States coinage that represents an important era in modern American history. This 10-cent coin was struck at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the D mint mark located on the obverse of the coin near the date. The Roosevelt dime series began in 1946 shortly after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, honoring his leadership during one of the most challenging periods in American history. Roosevelt guided the nation through the Great Depression and World War II, and he was also closely associated with the March of Dimes campaign, which worked to combat polio. Because of his contributions, his portrait was chosen to replace the earlier Mercury dime design. The 1973 D. Roosevelt dime continues this tradition and remains one of the most recognizable coins in American circulation. The obverse of the 1973 D. Roosevelt dime features a left-facing portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt designed by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the United States Mint. Surrounding the portrait are the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust, along with the date 1973. The design is simple yet elegant, emphasizing Roosevelt's strong profile and the nation's values of freedom and faith. The placement of the lettering was carefully balanced to create a visually appealing coin that could be easily recognized by the public. The D mint mark identifies a coin as having been struck at the Denver Mint, one of the major coin-producing facilities in the United States. The reverse of the 1973 D. Roosevelt dime carries a symbolic design that has remained largely unchanged since the series began. At the center stands a torch, representing liberty and enlightenment. To the left of the torch is an olive branch symbolizing peace, while an oak branch on the right represents strength, stability, and national endurance. Around these central elements appear the inscriptions United States of America and one dime. The motto E Pluribus Unum, meaning out of many, one, is placed above the torch, reflecting the unity of the states that form the nation. The reverse design combines artistic beauty with meaningful symbolism, making the Roosevelt dime a favorite among many collectors. The 1973 D. Roosevelt dime was struck using a copper-nickel clad composition. Unlike Roosevelt dimes minted before 1965, which contained 90% silver, the 1973 D issue contains no silver. It consists of outer layers made of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This composition was introduced after the Coinage Act of 1965 due to rising silver prices and the increasing cost of producing silver coins. The new clad alloy provided greater durability and allowed the mint to produce coins economically while maintaining a similar appearance to the older silver issues. As a result, the 1973 D dime became part of the modern clad coinage era that continues today. In terms of specifications, the 1973 D Roosevelt dime has a diameter of 17.9 millimeters and a weight of approximately 2.27 grams. The coin features a reeded edge, consisting of numerous small grooves around its circumference. Reeded edges were originally introduced on precious metal coins to prevent clipping and theft of valuable metal from the coin's edge. Although the 1973 D dime contains no silver, the reeded edge remained its traditional design feature and continues to be used on modern dimes. The coin's small size and durable composition make it highly practical for circulation and everyday transactions. The Denver Mint produced a very large number of Roosevelt dimes in 1973 to meet the demands of commerce throughout the United States. Because of the substantial mintage, the coin is generally considered common in circulated grades. Millions of Americans use these dimes in daily transactions, and many examples remain available today through pocket change, bankrolls, and coin collections. Despite its abundance, the 1973 D dime remains an important collectible because it represents a specific year in the long-running Roosevelt Dimes series. Collectors often seek examples from every date and mint mark combination, making the 1973 D issue an essential part of complete collection. Condition plays a major role in determining the value of a 1973 D Roosevelt dime. Most circulated examples show varying degrees of wear from years of use and generally carry only modest premiums above face value. However, uncirculated specimens displaying original mint luster, sharp details, and minimal contact marks can be significantly more desirable. Professional grading services evaluate these coins on a numerical scale, and high-grade examples often command higher prices due to their scarcity. Coins graded mint state 66, 67, or higher are especially sought after by collectors who specialize in high-quality modern coinage. One of the most interesting aspects of collecting 1973 D Roosevelt dimes involves searching for mint errors and unusual varieties. Although the standard coin is common, certain error coins can be worth considerably more than face value. Collectors watch for off-center strikes, die cracks, double dies, clip planches, broad strikes, and other minting anomalies. Such errors occurred during the manufacturing process and often escaped into circulation. Because each error is unique, its value depends on factors such as rarity, visibility, and overall condition. A dramatic mint error on a 1973 D dime can attract strong interest from numismatists and error coin specialists. The historical significance of the 1973 D Roosevelt dime extends beyond its role as everyday currency. The early 1970s were a period of economic change and social transformation in the United States. The nation was adjusting to new monetary policies, inflation concerns, and evolving economic conditions. Coins like the 1973 D dime circulated through businesses, schools, banks, and households across the country, becoming part of daily life of millions of Americans. As a result, these coins serve as small historical artifacts that connect modern collectors with the experiences of an earlier generation. Today, the 1973 D Roosevelt dime remains a popular coin among collectors of all experience levels. Beginners appreciate its affordability and availability, while advanced collectors pursue high-grade examples, register-quality pieces. The 1965 Roosevelt dime is one of the most historically significant coins in modern United States coinage because it marks a major turning point in the nation's monetary system. This coin belongs to the long-running Roosevelt Dimes series, which began in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Roosevelt was chosen not only for his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, but also for his strong connection to the fight against polio through the March of Dimes campaign. By 1965, however, the United States Mint was undergoing dramatic changes due to rising silver prices and widespread coin hoarding, which created a severe shortage of coins in circulation. The 1965 dime represents the beginning of a transition away from silver coinage into modern clad coinage, making it a key piece in American numismatic history. The most important feature of the 1965 Roosevelt dime is its composition. Prior to 1965, Roosevelt dimes were struck in 90% silver and 10% copper. However, the Coinage Act of 1965 eliminated silver from circulating dimes and quarters due to the increasing cost of silver and the risk of coins being melted for profit. As a result, the 1965 dime was struck using a copper-nickel clad composition. This new structure consists of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. Although the coin retained its silver-like appearance, it no longer contained any precious metal value. This change allowed the U.S. Mint to continue producing coins efficiently while ensuring enough currency remained in circulation for everyday use. The obverse of the 1965 Roosevelt Dime features a left-facing portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, designed by Chief Engraver John R. Sinek. The design is simple but elegant, showing Roosevelt's profile with strong detail and balanced proportions. Surrounding the portrait are the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," along with the date 1965. One of the most notable characteristics of this year is that it does not carry a mint mark. From 1965 to 1967, the United States Mint intentionally removed mint marks from coins to discourage collectors from hoarding specific mint issues, which was contributing to the coin shortage problem. This makes the 1965 dime unique, as it cannot be identified by mint location like most other years. On the reverse side of the 1965 Roosevelt dime, the design remains unchanged from earlier issues. It features a central torch representing liberty, flanked by an olive branch on the left symbolizing peace and an oak branch on the right symbolizing strength and independence. Around the design are the inscriptions "United States of America" and "One Dime," along with the national motto "E Pluribus Unum," meaning "out of many, one." This design carries deep symbolic meaning, reflecting unity, peace, and strength, core values of the United States. Despite the change in metal composition, the mint preserved the original artistic design to maintain continuity in American coinage. In terms of physical specifications, the 1965 Roosevelt dime has a diameter of 17.9 millimeters and weighs approximately 2.27 grams. It features a reeded edge, which consists of small groove around the coin circumference. Originally, reeded edges were used on silver coins to prevent people from shaving off small amounts of precious metal. Even though the 1965 dime contains no silver, the reeded edge was retained as part of the traditional design. The coin's size and weight remained unchanged from earlier silver versions, allowing it to circulate easily without confusing the public during the transition period. The production of the 1965 Roosevelt dime was extremely large, as the United States needed to quickly replace silver coins that were being withdrawn from circulation or hoarded by the public. The Philadelphia Mint produced these coins without mint marks, and millions were released into circulation across the country. Because of this high mintage, the 1965 dime is very common today and is usually worth only face value in circulated condition. However, uncirculated examples with strong luster and sharp details can still be of interest to collectors, especially those assembling complete Roosevelt dime sets. Although the 1965 dime is not rare in general circulation, it holds significant historical importance due to the major changes it represents in U.S. coinage policy. The mid-1960s were a time of economic pressure, rising inflation, and public concern about coin shortages. The removal of silver from everyday coins marked the end of an era that had lasted for decades. For many collectors, the 1965 Roosevelt dime symbolizes a shift from traditional precious metal coinage to modern industrial coin production, reflecting broader changes in the American economy. Collectors also pay attention to mint errors and unusual varieties in the 1965 dime series. Even though the coin is common, error coins can be valuable depending on their type and rarity. Examples include off-center strikes, clip planches, double dies, and die cracks. These errors occurred during the minting process and were not caught before release. Because each error coin is unique, collectors often seek them out as special additions to their collections. A dramatic error on a 1965 dime can sometimes be worth far more than its standard counterpart. Today, the 1965 Roosevelt dime remains a widely recognized and frequently encountered coin in circulation in collections. While it does not contain silver or have high intrinsic value, its importance lies in its historical context. It represents a pivotal moment in U.S. monetary history when the nation transitioned to a new era of coin production. For collectors and history enthusiasts, the 1965 dime is more than just a 10-cent piece. It is a reminder of economic change, government policy adjustments, and the evolution of American currency. The 1967 Roosevelt dime is an important and historically significant coin in the modern era of United States coinage. It belongs to the Roosevelt Dimes series, which began in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, one of the most influential leaders in American history. Roosevelt led the United States through the Great Depression and World War II, and he was also closely associated with the March of Dimes program, which helped fund the fight against polio. The dime was chosen to honor him because of his connection to this public health campaign and his national leadership. By 1967, the United States Mint was still in the middle of a major transformation in coin production, making this year's dime part of a very important transitional period in American monetary history. The most notable feature of the 1967 Roosevelt dime is its composition and minting context. Like the 1965 and 1966 issues, the 1967 dime was struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition instead of the earlier 90% silver used before 1965. This change was introduced by the Coinage Act of 1965, which eliminated silver from circulating dimes and quarters due to rising silver prices and widespread coin hoarding. The 1967 dime contains an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This gave the coin a silver-like appearance while removing any intrinsic silver value. The new composition allowed the U.S. Mint to continue producing large quantities of coins efficiently to meet the growing demand for circulation currency. The obverse of the 1967 Roosevelt dime features a left-facing portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, designed by chief engraver John Arsenic. The design is clean and balanced, showing Roosevelt's profile with strong detail and simplicity. The inscriptions on the obverse include Liberty on the left, In God We Trust on the right, and the date 1967 below the portrait. One of the key characteristics of this coin is that it carries no mint mark. From 1965 to 1967, the United States Mint removed mint marks from all circulating coins to discourage collectors from hoarding coins from specific mints. This makes the 1967 dime unique because its exact minting location cannot be identified. The reverse of the 1967 Roosevelt dime maintains a classic design that has been used since 1946. At the center is a torch representing liberty, flanked by an olive branch on the left and an oak branch on the right. The olive branch symbolizes peace, while the oak branch represents strength and independence. Around the design are the inscriptions United States of America and one dime. The national motto E Pluribus Unum, meaning out of many, one, appears above the torch. This reverse design is highly symbolic and reflects the values of unity, peace, and strength that define the United States. Even though the metal composition changed, the Mint preserved the original artistic design to maintain continuity in American coinage. In terms of physical specifications, the 1967 Roosevelt dime has a diameter of 17.9 millimeters and weighs approximately 2.27 grams. The coin features a reeded edge with small vertical grooves around its circumference. Historically, reeded edges were used on silver coins to prevent fraud by clipping small amounts of precious metal from the edges. Even though the 1967 dime contains no silver, the reeded edge was retained as a traditional design element. The size, weight, and general appearance of the coin remain consistent with earlier Roosevelt dimes, ensuring that the public could continue using it without confusion during the transition from silver to clad coinage. The production of the 1967 Roosevelt dime was extremely high because the United States was still dealing with a nationwide coin shortage that began in the mid-1960s. Millions of coins were needed for everyday commerce, and the Mint worked at full capacity to supply enough currency. Like the 1965 and 1966 issues, the 1967 dime does not have a mint mark due to the temporary policy of removing mint identifiers. As a result, collectors cannot distinguish whether a coin was produced in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco during this period. This uniformity was part of the government's effort to stabilize coin circulation across the country. From a collecting perspective, the 1967 Roosevelt dime is considered very common in circulated condition. Because so many were produced and widely used in everyday transactions, most examples show wear and carry little or no premium above face value. However, uncirculated examples with strong mint luster and sharp details are more desirable among collectors. High-grade coins, especially those certified by professional grading services, can have increased value due to their condition and eye appeal. Although not rare, these well-preserved specimens are important for collectors who focus on building complete sets of Roosevelt dimes in high quality. One of the more interesting areas of collecting the 1967 Roosevelt dime involves mint errors and varieties. While the standard coin is common, error coins can sometimes be quite valuable. Examples include off-center strikes, clip planches, die cracks, double dies, and broad strikes. These errors occur during the minting process and are not caught before the coins are released into circulation. Because each era coin is unique, collectors often find them highly desirable. A dramatic or visually striking error on a 1967 dime can be worth significantly more than a normal example, depending on rarity and condition. The historical importance of the 1967 Roosevelt dime lies in its role during a major transition period in American coinage. The mid-1960s marked the end of silver circulating coins and the beginning of modern clad coinage. This change reflected economic pressures, including rising silver prices and increased demand for everyday currency. The 1967 dime circulated during a time of economic adjustment in the United States, when the government was adapting to new monetary realities. As such, it represents not just a coin, but a piece of economic history that reflects broader changes in society and government policy.